All right. Well, I think we've got a good sized amount of people coming in here so far. So I'm going to kick things off. I'm going to mute everybody's microphone, but don't worry, we're going to have a little bit of time for Q&A and networking interspersed throughout the presentation. And as a reminder, the goal of this meeting is to share with all of you how we've been able to build and sell AI slash no code businesses. I sold my last business in June 2024 for 7 figures. I bootstrapped that company, and we were heavily leveraging AI and no code in order to do it. And obviously, RapidDev has done a tremendous job reaching multiple 7 figures in revenue, growing over 675% last year, and ending up on the Inc. fastest growing list, number 10 in the Northeast of all companies, not just agencies, all companies, fastest growing in the Northeast. So the things we're sharing with you today are based on those learnings. So it's not just only how to scale, but actually how to sell if you want to build a product and sell it in this fast-paced ecosystem. And one of the surprise guests was having Matt on. I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to make it. So for people just joining, he is the CEO of RapidDev. So I'm really glad that he's here. So I'm going to do a little introductions and then just jump right into having a little bit of Q&A from him really quickly before we go on to the rest of the presentation. So again, I'm going to mute everybody.
I'm going to jump in, Lucas, and just your
Go
intro. Lucas is a really modest guy, but I've been watching Lucas. He had a podcast that's like within the top 5% of all podcasts about like how to grow an agency. And I listened to that like religiously, like for like 2 years, and I watched his whole journey growing his agency, and then when he sold it, Ethan and him are good friends and connected with me, and I'm like, hell's yeah, I would love to be working with you, Lucas. So Lucas is definitely a lot of experience. I think you spent like 7 years building that agency, Lucas, right? You've been in it, been in the grind, and scaled it to an awesome size. And yeah, excited to have you on the team with us.
100%. I couldn't be more excited either. So let's jump into it. Everybody, let me know if for any reason you can't see my screen, but I'm going to start presenting right now. Here we go. Okay, so share this. Okay, just feel free to unmute yourself if for any reason you can't see it, and then if you can mute yourself again, that'd be great. But I'm going to share this now. All right, so everybody, for anybody who is not aware, the title of this webinar masterclass is Build and Sell an AI No-Code Business. If you don't know who we are, you can go check it out at rapiddevelopers.com. I'm the Chief Growth Officer at RapidDev, and very excited to be sharing all these secrets, behind the scenes information with y'all. What is our goal? Our goal with this community is to build the #1 AI no-code business community on the internet. And at the same time, to not just teach you about AI and no-code, but actually teach you how to grow your business, to grow it as big as we've been able to grow our companies, multiple 7 figures in revenue. And we did already go around the horn and introduce each other and share one thing that you want to get from today. So we're going to skip over that section, but feel free to put in the comments section, because people will see those later on when they watch this recording, anything you're looking to do. If you're looking to collaborate with someone, feel free to pop your name in there and your information. If you want people to reach out, contact you, feel free to put it in there below. So again, what is RapidDev? We help visionary businesses build custom applications 5x faster and cheaper. Now, the reason we say that is because even though we do specialize in no code, AI development, etc., the thing is that the game is changing dramatically with software development. It's not just about building applications anymore on traditional tech stacks. It is also about utilizing the best technology to do so. And right now, no code is becoming a great technology to build applications for any size company. Home Depot, for example, Trader Joe's, Nestle, Pepsi. We've worked with these large brands, and we've become the second-ranked agency on the Bubble.io agency marketplace out of hundreds of agencies on that marketplace, and have grown over 675% last year, as mentioned earlier, to become the 10th fastest growing company in the Northeast. And so we do traditional programming, and this is sort of going to be a theme throughout this presentation, and I'm sure from what Matt's going to say as well, is that you've just got to use whatever tools are going to get you to your goal. You got to stop thinking about, I am this kind of developer or I'm that kind of developer. Things are moving so quickly that there's a very good chance that the languages or the programming tools we use nowadays will be obsolete in 10 years or may not just be as relevant. So you've got to stop thinking in terms of, I am just this one thing. You've got to be very ahead of the curve in order to really survive nowadays. And that's what we try to emphasize at RapidDev. So who am I? I'm Lucas, again, Chief Growth Officer. I've previously bootstrapped a company and sold it for $1 million in June 2024 using AI no code. I'm passionate about community building, productizing services, automation. If you want to connect with me, I put my QR code there. You can also just find me at Lucas Capistani on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions at all. If you ever want to connect, you want to chat, you want to ask about what we do at RapidDev or anything, or just need some help for your business, hit me up. I'm really excited to talk with you about anything. So feel free to connect with me there. Now, I was going to go into a little bit of this on the AI no code opportunity and start there, but because we have Matt, I'm going to skip a little bit to the Q&A. I wasn't sure what time he's going to come in. So I want to give everybody some time to ask Matt some questions, if there are any, about how he was able to build the 10th fastest growing company in the Northeast, grow 675% last year, and dominate the no-code space for all things on Clutch, G2, all these rating marketplaces. You can see all the reviews we've gotten. Just if you have any questions about it at all, now would be a good time to ask. And then I'll also ask him some questions as well. So any questions from anybody in the audience about anything related to growing a business or development agency for Matt right here? Feel free to unmute yourself or just to ask it in the comment section as well. All right.
Will, I saw you on mute. Will.
Yeah. Okay. You got some questions? Go for it.
No, talk to us about productizing your service, because I saw that was bullet point number 2 in that slide. And that seems like the hardest thing to do with the, like, you get 1,000,001 different kinds of clients at the top of your funnel. And if you productize your service successfully, you're capturing this little slice of them, not the total top of the funnel. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, man, that's definitely a tough one. Where like in the dev world, especially, like productizing services are like super hard. I think other types of digital services are much easier to productize. So we're also, part of our plan is not just to do dev work, but also to expand into the other things that are complementary. So we get clients, they're having us build an app, but they also need us to help grow their business, right? So like some things like SEO, Google ads, Facebook ads, those things are much easier to kind of productize. Dev work is still like very, very hard to productize. But like we have had some success kind of productizing the template side of the business. So, you know, we own like 70% of the template marketplace for the paid templates in Bubble. And that's like a good lead source. We get leads and we kind of like go through a proposal process that says like, these are the customizations we can do, these are the modifications we can do, versus making it like a full completely custom app off of it. So there's like little things. The dev world is definitely very difficult to productize fully, definitely. But like when we're thinking like, okay, how do we get to 100 million, right? You have to start thinking about like how to productize. The answer might not yet be like that we can with all the dev work we do, but like peeling off pieces of it. Especially as I think like some of these tools are like very different from just building with Bubble. Like the whole process of software development is shifting, and there's, I think, more opportunities maybe to be able to productize some of those types of services too. Like Lovable, like we'll help you with your integration, your Stripe integration. That's like a small productized thing to get you into our funnel, start building a relationship, and then be able to do something bigger with you down the road. Good question, Will.
All right. Any other questions for Matt here, for anyone who just joined? Okay, I got a question for him. If nobody else has one, if you do, just raise your hand. We'll call on you. So what advice would you give to someone just starting out scaling with AI and no code right now? What would be your number one piece of advice?
My number one piece of advice is always to like search for good people. I know it's kind of corny, but like always like most likely you're not going to be able to do it by yourself, and you need like other great people around you. And just get to know everybody in the community, start building that network. Like a lot of you folks, like we've just met over the years and we kind of started working together in some way. So like usually you have a gap in your skill set. There's like, very few founders or agency owners that can do it all. And like there's really no reason to do it all. Find somebody else that can actually do it better than you. You still got to know it, right? Like you still got to be in the weeds, you still got to be an expert on something. But like start looking around and finding the people that can join your orbit, like get pulled in some way to join you on the journey. Because usually the problems agencies are hitting are who problems, like who, how, not how do you solve your problem, but who can help you solve the problem.
Yeah. One more question I have for you, and again, if anyone else has one, just raise your hand or leave a comment below. But one more question I have is, what do you think is working the best at RapidDev? Like, why specifically has RapidDev grown 675% in the last 12 months? What has clicked? What has worked? From what you can share, what is working really well?
I think it's like just like constantly reinvesting back into the brand. So like another thing I noticed with agencies is they, like kind of take the money out of the business versus thinking about how to reinvest in the business. And like there's not, like you can't, sometimes there's not easy ways to reinvest all the money, right? Sometimes you're going to have to burn some of it. You have to experiment. Some of it you have to look at as like, I'm learning this process and I'm not looking to get the cheapest price or the biggest ROI on this next initiative I'm doing. I'm just putting some money into it and we're going to see what happens and I'm going to learn along the way. And the money's like helping me learn faster. So I think like there's a hesitancy for a lot of groups to be like, okay, I got to either pull the money out of the business or build like this giant nest egg versus like, what's the next experiment I can run? What's the next thing I can test? I mean, you still got to be strict. You don't want to just like, burn money frivolously, right? You need to make sure you're actually using it wisely. But there's got to be a willingness to realize like you're like every other agency if you don't build a brand, if you don't do something to like build a presence and like get your name out there, then you look like everybody else out there,
Yeah,
There's no
100%,
like everyone's the
100%.
same. We're all commodities. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to take one more question from Santosh, and we're going to go on the rest of the presentation. So Santosh, and then if anyone else has any other questions, just pop in the chat. We can maybe come back to it later. So what's your question, Santosh?
Great. I'll just make this quick 3 questions. First one, Matt, for somebody starting out, how do you get yourself known in the agency world? Number 2, from your experience, what are you learning about how people are looking, particularly with no code and focus with respect to the clients? And lastly, if you were to take a bet on something, what would your bet be in this area of business?
Okay, a lot of questions there, Santos. Put me under the gun. I like it. So, first one, starting out, like almost always, you start out with your network. That's usually the only way to get. Alex Hormozy always talks about this. Like, you can do work for free. That's like the first thing is like you got to start like building a portfolio and you got to like get your first couple clients generally through your network. Maybe you can hustle and knock on doors, send emails, like post online, like, hey, I'm doing a free project. The only thing I ask is like, once I'm done with it, you're gonna share it and talk about it and help me get my next client afterwards. So like setting that expectation, it's a grind. It's like super hard. Like I remember our first project was like way too hard for like we charged like such little money just to get it off the ground, right? So like you got to do that, and you see this on Upwork a lot too. People are like kind of out there doing free work just to get their profile built up. So there's no magic bullet unless you find like a channel that nobody knows about, which is pretty rare. Like you kind of got to just grind through it to get those first couple of clients off and then get the referrals going based off that. But leverage your network. Like if you don't talk about what you're doing, if you don't tell people what you're up to, like nobody knows. People want to help you. What was the second thing, Santosh?
Yeah, from speaking to clients, what do you think? How are you positioning no code? What do you see the feedback is? And the last one is, what is the bet you would take?
Well, I think like the like clients are like generally there's becoming more and more awareness that these tools exist. And still like even though we're in it every day and we think it's like totally obvious, like the vast portions of the population have no clue what's happening in the space, like what these tools are capable of doing and like how the cost is coming down. Like you talk to a small business owner, they're like, nah, I tried this like 5 years ago. It was going to cost like 500K. I'm not interested in any of that. Or I did try it. It was too expensive. Everything took too long. So there's a lot of like experiences people have had over the last couple of decades that like just aren't relevant or true anymore. And people don't know how fast the space moved. So I think clients generally, when they discover this and we show them like, hey, look at this AI builder. I just plugged it in. I got to mock up a prototype, and they're like, eyes fall out of their head, and they're like, whoa, this is like crazy different. So yeah, I think that's where it's going, and how clients are reacting. Thanks,
Love
Andrew.
that. All right. So thanks for the question, man. Appreciate that. We're going to dive into the presentation, and then again, we'll have a chance to do a little networking, also just asking some more questions at the end. So feel free to hang around. We got a lot more to go here. So again, what is the purpose of this call? The purpose of this call is to really find how to leverage AI no code to the max degree. So a lot of this is going to be sort of things that you may already know, especially if you're deep in the space right now. But what I tried to do to make this as valuable as possible for everyone here today is to show specific examples of how you can leverage AI no code to specifically grow your business. A lot of people on this call are services companies. They have their own agency, they have their own software product. And so these are actual tactical tools that you can use to implement to grow your business immediately, right? So just as a brief overview, again, the opportunity at AI no code is as follows. One, it's not having to rely on expensive development teams to build these tools. I think everybody knows that. Not having to have as much of a headcount in order to build something incredible. Turning services into products. This is a big one for me because I'll talk about this a little later, but there is such a huge opportunity in turning traditional style businesses into products that just would have been too time consuming to do before. Or maybe there just wasn't that big of a market for it, but because you can now with AI and no code build something that's much less expensive and turn it into a product that used to be a service, now you can offer something that has higher margins and roll out really quick. And then I think the third thing for me, in terms of all of us here as service providers or just software companies, is just personalization. I'm going to dive into this, but I think that the goal should be to enhance what you're doing, not to replace what you're doing. If all you're doing is replacing what you're doing, you're kind of missing the point, because ultimately that's what everyone's doing right now, is just saying, oh, great, I now have AI, I now have no code. All I need to do is just get it to do what I'm doing right now, and I can cut costs and everything and save a bunch of time. But again, that's not going to lead to a long-term strategic advantage, because that's what everyone is doing. But if you can use no code and AI to actually make what you're doing more effective and do more with less than what you were currently doing, then you're going to actually stand out and have a huge advantage. So I'm going to go first into kind of what I did at Twiz, which is my company. It's still active, so we just sold it to one of our oldest clients. So if you check out twiz.io, it's still live. Also, agencygo.io is still live. But this is what I did in my last business, and it's also what really helped us sell the company, because it made it even more attractive for an acquisition. So essentially, my last business relied a lot on referrals, partnerships, but we had a difficulty tracking and scaling them. It was manual, inconsistent, etc. So I built this tool called agencygo.io, which is a no-code SaaS. It automated the referral workflows. And the way I stitched this together was using bubble.io, then using Zapier for automation, and then ChatGPT for documentation and creating operating procedures. We launched this with a 30-day money-back guarantee at $97 per month, and we're able to grow it to $30,000 in monthly recurring revenue in 6 months. And this again really helped the exit valuation. But the reason I wanted to highlight this is because this was a traditional business. It was a marketing agency. Twiz was a marketing agency, is a marketing agency. And we thought, hey, we should offer a product because there's a huge opportunity to increase our margins, increase our revenue, increase our lead flow. And so we launched it. And because we launched it, it just led to a huge increase in opportunities in the traditional business, right? And this was a little bit before ChatGPT got to the point where it is now, where it's even more powerful, more advanced, all these things. So we could have probably done even more with it had we been able to have what we have now with ChatGPT. But even then, I was able to teach myself, not because I've got some special skill, but because it's all available online. It's all available on YouTube. You can check out what Mantis is putting out on the YouTube channel for RapidDev and start learning some of these things. So one of the keys is to not be ignorant to technology. Even though the goal with AI is to make things easier for you, you should still be learning this stuff, because that is going to be that long-term advantage is, hey, yeah, I'm using AI, I'm using no code, but I actually still understand technology to a degree, so I know what to ask for. And that is what really helped me out. It's what really made the sale easier. And I definitely, if you want to check out that website, you can go check it out to see it's still live. We've integrated it into Twiz, but the product website is still there. The next thing I wanted to share was around creating AI proposals. So this is actually something that we do.
Just real quick, Lucas, I'll jump in. Like I was like one of the people in Agency Go. I loved it. It was like an awesome community. It was like, looking back at it now with the way you're framing it, it was like a great, brilliant move. So it was super cool.
Thank you. And I will say that, again, Bubble was the app, and some people used the app. It wasn't like everyone was using the app 24/7, but some people were just engaging in the Slack channel. We had hundreds of agencies on there.
Yeah.
And the way that I looked at it was the AI/no code solution doesn't just need to be in the app. We can create automations and workflows and everything using Zapier or even some custom development to make everything feel like it's self-service. And so there'd be custom notifications that would go through Slack, custom workflows that would happen based on different situations. And all of that was a development process. Some of it required building an app, and some of it was just a workflow, and the user didn't even know that they were part of an app, essentially. Like they're a part of an app process that was happening every single day they were engaging with the community. The second thing here is something that we do at RapidDev, something that I've been doing when I'm working on larger deals, right? And so these custom AI proposals. So the thing is that if you're trying to sell, let's say, to large customers, to enterprises, for example, one of the things that really will help you stand out nowadays is creating extremely custom proposals. This was already the case if you're trying to close bigger deals. Like let's say you want to close a customer for over $100,000. If you want to do that, even a year or two ago, 3 years ago, you would put a lot of effort into creating these proposals. It would take a lot of time, sometimes weeks, to create something incredibly well put together. The thing is, nowadays, you can still put in a good amount of time. Obviously, the time has reduced dramatically, but with these AI tools, you can actually reduce the time, but still, if you have the same goal, spend all that extra time gains that you have into making this the best freaking proposal that they've ever seen in their entire lives. So what is going to be a theme throughout this presentation is the process of recording different processes or meetings, turning them into a transcript, which automatically happens a lot of the time, then prompting ChatGPT or whatever your favorite LLM is to do something, and then to take a process that took a lot of time to do before, augment it with this AI system, and then spend all that extra time doing things that would have taken way too much time. It would have been way too unnecessary before, just not possible, which to me is around things like customization. And so let's say you have a 20-page proposal for a deal you're trying to close. You can meet with the prospect. You can look for all of the things that that prospect might need. You can feed that transcript from Zoom or Google Meets or Fathom or whatever you're using into a ChatGPT, and then you can ask it to create this custom proposal. You can then take a template. Like in my case, I always have this letter that I write. And I used to manually write the letter every single time because I wanted to show that I really thought through what was going to happen for this client. But now I can have the first draft be written by AI, or I could write the first draft and feed that to AI. And that's going to save me a lot of time in terms of taking things that were mentioned in the call and putting it into the proposal. And again, that's that above and beyond aspect that I really want you guys to think about when you're thinking about AI, is not replacing, but enhancing. That's the major thing, is enhancement. And to that point, I put together some do's and don'ts here. On the do side, again, enhance, expand offerings, automate repeatable processes and document SOPs, which are standard operating procedures, and then leverage things in a smart, efficient way. Don't get distracted by the hype. It has to still solve a core problem. And then don't cling to traditional models. So this one is really important to me, which is, let's say you are offering a development agency service, right? And you have a certain process that you've always followed, and it's been the same process for the last 20 years. Well, what if instead of just offering a development agency where you just did the development, that would be the basic thing to do, that would be the traditional way of doing it. What if instead you said, hey, we're going to build your app, but we're also going to launch your app. We're going to use all of our AI agents that we have, and we're going to actually do the marketing for this app, and we're going to drive the product launch. We're going to launch it on Product Hub. We're going to do all these things, right? That would be a different kind of model that traditionally would have been very time consuming, but now with AI might be possible to do. So the average development shop might have to provide more value and say, hey, we're not just building the app, we're doing way more than that. And that's transforming the traditional model into something more complex. And then the last thing here is just straight up ignoring the technology that's involved, right? You've got to actually take the time to learn this stuff, because that's your advantage. At the end of the day, AI is going to be a great equalizer. It's going to make things a lot easier for people to do. So you've got to search for the areas where you actually can have some kind of advantage. And so you shouldn't just hand everything over to the AI. If everyone has AI, that means we're basically all the same. You've got to still cultivate a basic understanding of some of the technology, and maybe even use AI to tell you what you should be learning in regards to technology, but always stay up to date and don't just avoid it and hand it off to somebody, or don't even just hand it off just to AI. You've got to at least have a basic understanding first before you do anything yourself. And for anyone who's curious, one of the things I wanted to break down was the kinds of tools that we're actually using. So Bubble.io we're using for our full stack no code apps. This isn't the only tool we use, right? But this is just a basic heuristic. Bubble.io is very popular right now. Millions of people are building apps on it, and we're obviously very much experts in that space. When it comes to automating your workflows, Zapier is really good. Make.com is also really good. And also a new honorable mention is N8N. If you have heard of that one, it's actually kind of like Zapier, but you can build agents with it. Then the third thing is obviously ChatGPT. I would use that for anything that you're trying to automate repeatably that's from a document. So creating proposals, workflows, SOPs, things like that. I would take all that and run it through ChatGPT. And then if you're actually trying to have some kind of a code layer, you could use something like Replete, for example, or Lovable, and you can make a more of a mixed bag of what would be visual programming and custom development. So these are sort of the different tools that I would think about using when it comes to AI and no code. Now, again, one thing I want to leave you with, I have two sort of specific things that I think you can try that could be little tricks that you could just start using right away to grow your business and then eventually sell your company, right? Is to start straight up automating everything in regards to every single one of your processes. So just sit down for one day, like tomorrow, and use Loom or Fathom or whatever you use for screen sharing recordings, and just document every single process that you have in your business, and take that transcription, pop it into ChatGPT, and just say, make this into a standard operating procedure. And then what you can do is, especially because ChatGPT now has all the updated memory and it knows everything about you, you can create a project for this inside ChatGPT. And you can basically say, organize all this. Tell me exactly the structure I should have this. Let's say that I'm a BDR, a business development representative, coming onto your team for the first time. What are the SOPs that I just created should I give to that BDR? Or let's say I'm bringing in a chief marketing officer. What are the things I should give to that chief marketing officer right away so it's nice and organized? You could use Airtable for this. You could use Google Sheets, anything you want to do just to organize all the documents that are created. So that way there's a flow, and then everyone could just start their training when they come into your business, just doing these different operating procedures from day one. And this is something you could do right away, because I'm willing to bet that each and every one of you, no matter how big your business is, has at least 10 to 20 minimum different operating procedures that are important to your company. And this is what investors look for and buyers look for when it comes to actually buying your company, is something along these lines, is making sure it's a repeatable system that can work without you. In the last 3 years of me running my marketing agency, I was not involved in sales at all. And it's not because I was just slacking off. It's because I already done my job. I figured out how to get closers to become really good and bring in a lot of revenue. And I wasn't needed to do any sales. So I could spend my time doing things like launching the product I talked about earlier, or getting the business ready for a sale. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't automate the process of documenting everything with in our company, all the operating procedures and things of that nature. So again, this is very important for anything regarding scaling and selling, and I would recommend you start doing it now and just have it all in one place. Just have it all in one place. That would be your first step. This is a little growth hack that I want to leave you guys with, kind of related to what we were talking about earlier around transcription. It's something that I found to be very useful. There is a website called Goody, which you can use for free. You just pay for the gift, but they don't charge anything outside of that. And if you use this platform, you can search for any kind of gift on the web, and you can then send that gift to a prospect. And they actually have a really good system where now you actually can have a link that you can use if you do cold outreach, and you could say, hey, anybody who claims this gift from a cold outreach, let's say I'm giving them a pair of Beats headphones, or I'm giving them a free suitcase or something. I'm going to have up to 10 people who use this link from my cold outreach. And that way you don't even have to worry about sending it to them. It's just a link that they can go claim the gift. The first 10 people to claim it win. And you could basically say, this is for booking a meeting with me, for example. But in this case, this growth hack, what you could do is you could essentially listen back to the calls, or use AI to transcribe one of your calls with the prospect. And you can use that AI to create a profile on that individual and say, hey, based on what you know about this person, what kind of a gift do you think they would absolutely love? Pick one of those gifts from ongoody.com and tell me, and then give me the link so that I can then send it to the prospect. And this is the kind of thing I'm trying to ingrain into everyone, is do more with AI. Don't think about doing less or replacing. Do more with AI. This is something that would be going above and beyond. This is something that other people aren't doing. They're not sending gifts to prospects, even though it's been proven to work to close deals, especially bigger deals. And if you do something that's super custom, like if you say, hey, I heard that you have a lot of travel coming up, and that was something that they mentioned in the conversation. You can say, I heard you had a lot of travel coming up. Can you, would you like to have these, this new suitcase? I just bought you one. It's like, it could be like $50 or $100. Just, hey, here's a new suitcase. Or here's, one of those pillows that you put on your shoulders when you're sleeping on an airplane. Like, I wanted to give this to you. So these are the kind of things that AI can do to just enhance. And this is a quick growth hack as well, that if you start doing it, I guarantee you'll start closing more deals, because it shows you're going above and beyond. It shows you're doing stuff that other people are not willing to do. So just want to leave you guys with something, which is just how you can get more involved with us. Before we kind of jump into the Q&A, I just want to share this before we kind of leave off here on the education part of this masterclass, which is I'm trying to partner more with all of you. There's multiple different ways that we can partner together. So there could be referral partner, white label partner, etc. And we've spent years and millions of dollars building up our operations. And the goal of partnering is that you can use it for free, right? So that doesn't mean you yourself have to pay for the services. It means that you can have one of your clients work with us, or you could white label us. But the goal is basically building your business with us. And so if you want to join our partner program, you can scan this QR code here, this one. This just sends you to my booking page for you to book a meeting with me. And then we can start talking about how I can help best serve you, right? That could just be me trying to give you resources. That could be you having a conversation to be a white label partner of ours and scaling your company. But again, the goal is to basically not have you have to reinvent the wheel, for you not to have to go and spend all this money figuring out the right kind of operational system when you could just use ours. And then the second thing I want to mention is this next QR code right below, the bottom one. We're launching an accelerator, and that is essentially an opportunity for a small group of people who are part of our partner program to get regular group, small group training from me and the rest of our executive team at RapidDev. And it's a much more advanced version of our normal partnership program. And again, there's no strings attached. You don't even have to white label us if you don't feel it's the best fit for your business. If we choose you and you feel like it's a good fit after you apply, then obviously we're going to share ways that you can use us to scale, but it's not a contractual obligation. So if you want to be part of this accelerator and actually grow your development agency, grow your business, feel free to apply. It takes less than a minute. And again, you'll not only be able to get access to these calls, which these ones will probably be about like once a month, but you'll have regular training, most likely weekly or bi-weekly in a much smaller group where you can ask me questions. I can train you and show you exactly how we're able to reach millions of dollars a year in revenue. So again, we're going to have more master classes, more community events, more training coming up down the pipeline, probably once a month.
Go back so I can apply.
Okay. And I'll be sending this out, but if anyone wants to, feel free to scan that now so you can get the link. Awesome. So in terms of what's coming down the pipe, what was that? Sorry.
Which one was for the, which one was for the accessing the backend?
The partner program. Well, both of them technically, but one of them is the accelerator, and that is application only. The partner program is a general thing that anyone can do. So if you want to access our backend and basically be able to use all of our operational infrastructure, then you can scan that QR code and we can show you how, because I'll basically meet with you. So you'll book a time, and then from there, we can talk about what is best for you to do. It could just be learning. We have tons of educational materials. It could be white labeling our services, right? So it just depends. But again, the accelerator is much smaller, and we're only picking a couple of people for the first cohort. So it's application only, and yeah, it's just one's general, one isn't. Anyone else have any issues or questions with this one? Okay, awesome. So again, just wrapping up, we're going to have more master classes, more community events, more training coming up in the future, maybe even some in real life events potentially in the United States. So just want to lead this to some Q&A networking here at the end. We'll start with Q&A, and then for anyone who wants to hang out, we can talk more, chat. You can grab people's contact information in the chat there below. But the main thing for me is figuring out what things you want to build. If you have a project that you're trying to scale, what's the bottlenecks for you right now? So that way I can help and just be as useful as possible. So feel free to ask away. And that concludes the educational portion of this masterclass. So thank you everybody for being here. Who's got questions? Anyone has any questions?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
First off, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your time, because I'm glad I hopped on here, because I'm definitely getting ready to hire a development firm, and I definitely think there's some things that I could probably knock out, save me some dollars for no code solutions. So
I'm also not a bot, right?
I got you. Hey, you never know these days, right? So I guess my first question is on that. I'm familiar with some of the no code, low code tools, but how advanced do you think some of these projects can get? Obviously, ironically enough, I just had a Facebook post that I made a story 2 years ago using AI, and I'm like, oh man, look at the difference between like what I'm doing now and how, even ChatGPT is. But
Yeah.
at what point do you think, or is there a point where it's like, okay, cool, I'm stuck, and maybe I do need a developer. I'm using these no code, low code AI tools, so if something's broken and now I can't fix it.
Yeah. Well, it's a great question. So the answer I always give people is, if you scaled your business already to any real size, I would say above $100,000 a year, or even if it's less than that, it still could be an opportunity. But I would say if you've hit some kind of scale, then building an app is a great idea for increasing enterprise value. So people who are going to buy your company, especially if in more traditional businesses, people who are going to buy your company are going to always ask the question of founder risk, which is, if this person isn't part of the company anymore, is this thing going to still be valuable? And that was something they kept asking me when I was selling the company, but we were able to demonstrate through the things that I had built, like the community, the app, the partner program, all these things, that even if I left, the company would still operate. And that's why it's still active. They still are doing a bunch of work. They still have a lot of clients. And so I always look at it as that reduces founder risk. So especially in this day and age where traditional services are going to start getting they already are, they're getting eaten up like crazy by people building no code AI apps. It is a necessity, in my opinion. And I try to walk the talk, so like for me, I invested into it. I've spent, I think personally in the last 12 months, I've spent about 50 grand on building apps. And that's not the minimum, right? So we have apps that are built for much less than that, like tens of thousands, maybe like $10,000-$20,000, sometimes even less. It depends on what you're trying to build. But I was really looking for something specific. And I actually have my own kind of software project I'm building as well, that's helping us at RapidDev do a lot of different things also. But the point is that I would do it if the goal is to ever sell the company. It's just such a huge ad. And the cool thing is there's websites like acquire.com right now, which is a huge marketplace for buying and selling companies. If you're tech enabled, you're going to be able to list on a place like that and have liquidity in a sale that opens up to much more than a traditional business, right? And people will be eager to sell your business because they get a cut on it. So it just creates much more enterprise value. So I would say there's not really like a defined point other than capital constraints. So if somebody has surpassed that point, then I would say it's really worth investing. Now, the only other caveat I would say to this is, you don't have to build like the next Facebook to have a valuable app. There's internal business apps is a whole category we do. Like when I said we worked with all these big names like Home Depot, Pepsi, all these things, a lot of the times we're building internal tools for their team. We're not necessarily building a tool that Home Depot is going to roll out to all their customers and have millions of users on it immediately. It's more like, hey, we need a process that needs to be automated with apps internally, and this is going to save us a bunch of money and make us way more productive. And if that's the case, then they're much more open to doing it, and it's not really about building a consumer application, right? It's just an internal app for the team. So again, that's why it's mainly about capital constraints. But I think just with the whole Mark Andreessen quote about software is eating the world, AI has eaten the world. Like it's already happened, right? So it's kind of like, I think there is no option for a lot of businesses that are trying to create enterprise value nowadays. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, it definitely does. And just a follow-on question, because it's perfect segue. Enterprise level ChatGPT, when do you know that you need to upgrade to that level? I'm assuming that you had to use that at some point.
Well, actually, so I didn't personally have to use it because I work with the API. So I'm doing everything programmatically, which is great because it means, you can get you can get like 1 million calls for very small amount of money. And then you are in effect paying the same price as the subscription, which could cost like $200 a month or more. Sometimes it's like 50 grand a year. They have like really high tiers as well. I know there's the team plan and then there's the enterprise plan. But for my purposes, I was building the app to call ChatGPT and get the information back, which means I didn't need to pay specifically for the enterprise plan. And also, I wasn't doing anything that would be at the enterprise level for myself. And even when we're building these apps for big companies, we may not actually need an enterprise plan. We might just tap right into the API. And now, actually, Bubble, for anyone here who's a Bubble nerd, I'm sure there's a lot of you guys. Bubble just launched the API streaming, which is a really cool feature, which basically means that you can in real time do API calls. So like there used to be a delay where, how in ChatGPT you'd have like everything comes in real time and like bit by bit. It used to be that there was a delay where you just like get the answer, but it'd be a couple seconds later and it'd be like the full answer. And that's a little annoying for people. So nowadays it's even more integrated with these tools where you don't even really need to have the high plan. You could just pay for the API and you're fine.
Thank you.
Awesome, man. Excited to talk to you later about everything. Any other questions you guys have? Because we can, if there's no questions, we can also open it up to just a little networking. I have some networking prompts I want to kind of leave everybody with. But any questions? Any more questions for me or for anyone else on our team? I see Matt's still here. So CEO of RapidDev is still in the building. And I think Craig is too. I don't know if he's gonna be able to hop in, but he also leads up all the sales at RapidDev. So you got multiple RapidDev execs on the call right now if you guys have any questions.
Yeah, I've got one. I mean, I think Matt, I've had some of these conversations with Matt at BubbleCon and various other places, but I think one of the things that you've been extremely successful at and other bubble agency owners are jealous of is managing to get into the top tier clients and going from the $5,000 project, which like pays the bills but doesn't really make you a lot of money, and I mean, I know you've been able to do that. So talk a little bit about that, sort of, starting wherever you were, but then being able to, have a pitch and, some trust that would really persuade larger and larger clients.
Matt, you're on mute.
Thank you. Sorry, guys. No, I definitely spend, Craig and I and Lucas, we spend like all day thinking about this all the time. Like part of the thing is like Bubble just attracts so much of that volume at the bottom, like so much volume of like 5K, and Bubble, kind of reinforces and says, build an app in an hour and, it's like $500 and you're off to the races. So there's sort of like, that's their brand, their positioning. It attracts a lot of that crowd, the indie hacky crowd. And it's like hard to like kind of break out of that. Like what we've found is that the bigger clients we have, some of them don't even know what Bubble is. They're like, I just want the app. Like I heard you guys make apps. I don't know what Bubble is. If you tell me this is good, we're good to go. So I think like the fundamental truth we've come to is like, it just comes down to referrals, like having an extensive referral network, trying to stay top of mind for your referral network, trying to have channel partners. So like a lot of like hardcore biz dev work, getting to know people, not just within Bubble, but outside of Bubble. So you can kind of have your feelers everywhere for getting those deals. Because there are big deals within the Bubble ecosystem, but like a lot of them are outside the Bubble ecosystem, So yeah, no silver bullet. It's just like hard networking, man.
I don't know if you had any follow-on questions, Will, but I know we're almost at time. So because we had a lot of people commenting in the chat, if no one else has any questions, I think I'm just going to leave it with an open round call for anyone to just share what their project is and what they're working on. Because we have 3 minutes left. But before we do that, any other questions?
Santosh has put some funny questions in here.
Oh, okay, really? Okay.
Yeah, he's just being a goofy.
Okay, well, in addition to the some people don't have access to the chat. So if anyone wants to just like shoot out what they're working on and a link, where people can go to find it, feel free to jump in. We got 2 minutes left, so just wanted this to be useful for everybody.
And thanks everybody for joining.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Yeah, it's been awesome. All right, nobody.
Will?
Thanks. Just an actual thank you. It's always good to chat about these things. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
We're going to be making them better and better. We'll have, again, like once a month, and we're going to be bringing in like bigger and bigger guests to share their strategies and stuff. So it's going to be really fun. But again, if nobody has anything they want to share.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. We're going to say?
Thank you, Lucas. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, I appreciate your time, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys. See ya.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Talk to y'all later. Appreciate it.